ST 2016. This is interviews, music reviews, and more. This is The Hotter Show.
What is up, everybody? We're rolling audio here today in episode 334 of The Hotter Show. I hope you guys are doing absolutely fantastic. Thank you so very much for tuning in and clicking that play button on today's episode of the podcast. I got a kick-ass episode for you here today, and I try to every single week right here on The Hotter Show. I am joined by my buddies, Chris and Stiv from Seagrave. And we have a lot of ground to cover. They just dropped a badass new single, which we talk about, and you guys actually get to hear at the end of the episode, Butchered. It is fan-freaking-tastic, so stay tuned for that. We also talk about Chris's unfortunate accident in which he actually dislocated his knee while the band was playing a show, and kind of the hilarity that ensued from that. Talk in depth about the single and its recording processes and how it is for Chris being not only a member of the band, but also the one who records and produces and mixes all of their stuff. How Chris joined the band, what Stiv's been up to, and a lot of other fun shenanigans. It was great getting to talk with them and getting to catch up with both Chris and Stiv, especially with Stiv. I haven't talked to him in like probably 4 years. I, of course, had him on the show I think it was like 4 years ago or something like that that I had him on. So it was great and have a lot of fun on this episode. I hope that you guys enjoy it. Before we jump in, I got to give everyone a shout out who supported last week's episode of the show, my chat with East Coast MC Hotter. That was a lot of fun. Big shouts to Hotter and the entire Ibex music group. Doing some great things over there. So go check out, if you're in the kind of the hip hop and rap scene, check out Ibex music group and as well as Hotter. They deserve your support. And I want to give one more quick shout out before we jump in here to a website called Zencastr, because Zencastr actually saved this podcast because Zoom decided to, for lack of a better term, kind of fuck me over and everyone over as far as I'm concerned. So big middle finger to Zoom and big thumbs up to Zencastr. Fantastic site. As you guys heard, I don't think my podcast has ever sounded better as far as it being recorded. You know, I'm hoping every single week we can get better with the sound quality. But as far as just being recorded, I don't think my podcast has ever sounded better, especially considering we weren't in the same room when this was recorded. So huge shouts again to the Zencastr crew. Just they didn't pay me to say this or anything. I'm not sponsored, but just for the love of God, I can't stress enough how much they saved this podcast and how happy I am with them. So if you're a podcaster, check out Zencastr because they're awesome. And with that, we are ready to jump into my chat with Chris and Stiv from Seagrave. Let's get into it. All right, we are joined from the mighty Seagrave, who just dropped a badass new single, which you bet your ass we're going to talk about. We got Chris, who is the bassist and backing vocalist for Seagrave, and as well as Stiv, who is the guitarist. Gentlemen, what's going on?
Not a whole lot.
Yeah, not much, man. It's always good to be back.
Hell yeah, good to see you, TJ.
Yeah, well, just to start off, I mean, if you've listened to my show the last couple of years, you know fucking Chris. I mean, you know, you've been on like 100 times, so whatever.
Easily,
you know.
yeah.
Easily. But
at least.
For long-time listeners of The Hotter Show, it has been well over 150 episodes since we've...
Something like that.
Actually, I think more than that since we've heard from Stiv. So, man, it's good to see you, dude.
It's great to see you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, man. Well, and just to jump in head first here. So we got a lot of ground to cover here for Seagrave. Like I mentioned, you guys just dropped the badass new single, which we are going to check out a little later on and we're going to talk about. And I want to talk about Seagrave's journey and all of that. But something that happened pretty recently that I gotta break Chris's balls about. Buddy.
What could that be?
Was it your first show back since the pandemic?
No,
it wasn't. Okay, I couldn't remember if it wasn't. I didn't think it was.
I couldn't even remember. I was going to say, yeah.
No, we played in October at Sneaks with Pillars and Dahlia.
Right.
That one was a little whack. Like, it was great to play with all those guys and they all kill it. But the only whack part about it is when COVID restrictions were still pretty shit. So it was a completely seated show, which obviously for a fucking metal deathcore show is pretty whack. But it was still a good time. It was still good to see everybody and we still had fun. But yeah, This was our second show that we played, which wasn't seated and stuff like that. But I'll let you get into what happened there.
So it was where was the show in which
It
this
was
happened?
at Sneaky D's in Toronto.
Yeah.
So let me set the stage for everybody here who doesn't know about this. So you're watching Seagrave do their thing, which is just producing music that is best described as music you can murder people to. That's
literally our
murder
Facebook
music.
description. It's murder
literally the
music.
Facebook description is murder music. So it's good, wholesome Christian music. You know what I'm saying?
course.
Like that's with songs like Butchered, you know,
Of
I mean,
course.
you get what you get. So they're up there, they're rocking out, they're doing their thing. And all of a sudden Chris just falls over in a not so graceful way. And what did you like? Because there's video of it, which I'm so happy that there is, because you know I love you, but holy shit, I must have watched that thing on repeat 100 times just because like it's like you were just kind of like rocking out and then you just kind of like fell over. Like what happened? Did you like plant your foot or
looked like I got fucking shot? Like I just fell.
Yeah,
back.
I did. Yeah.
Yeah. So it actually I didn't think about this actually until about a week or two after. So I kind of had a little bit of a warning sign actually. So what happened was when we first got up there, like literally when I rang out the first note, I kind of stepped back a little weird, like the same kind of way as how it happened. And I felt a little bit of a pop in my knee. And I was like, oh, okay, you know, whatever. I'm sure it's fine. It didn't hurt. It just felt kind of odd. And then, so we were actually like really close to being done our set.
Yeah, it was literally the last maybe minute and a half of the set.
Yeah. Like we were literally finishing the last song. And I stepped back kind of at a weird angle and I slipped at the same time a little bit. And my kneecap just blew the fuck out. My kneecap was literally on the side of my leg. And I was fucking on the floor screaming. Our other guitar player, Dylan, he's the one who's beside me on stage. And he looks down and he's like, "You're all right, man. You're all right." And then I can, like, I'm looking at him and I can see his gaze go from my face to my leg. And then he sees it. And you just see him go, "Oh my fucking God."
Oh, no.
So I straightened, like, because I've dislocated my other knee before actually when I was like 18. Also at a show, but I was in the pit.
That's acceptable, I think.
What was more embarrassing though?
Both. They were both just as bad.
I mean, that would fucking suck, but we'll talk about that in a minute.
So anyway, I straightened my leg out and I fucking slammed my kneecap back in. And then we finished the set, but I was just laying down.
Just laying
He was
there.
a trooper. It was
I mean,
impressive.
that's the thing, right? That's what, as much as this is a fun little kind of ball busting thing, it's like you finished the fucking set.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people wouldn't have even done that. It would have been like, yo, our show is done.
I mean,
like,
having said that, all we were playing was open notes.
Yeah, it was
Like he only needed one hand. The other one was holding his knee. It was
just calling him out.
Yeah.
That's great.
Oh yeah, we finished the set. It was all good. I had to get like carried off stage though. I couldn't walk for a good hour and a half after. Even still, getting to the car was pretty brutal. So Stiv actually had just gotten his G2.
Yeah, like a week before this happened.
Yeah, and
Never driven on a freeway or anything before. Still a relatively new driver. Very scared.
Yeah,
Very anxious.
Stiv actually took me to the hospital. So he drove me from Sneaks downtown Toronto to the Oshawa Hospital in my car, which he had never driven before.
Which windows are tinted as fuck.
Yeah. And so he took me to the hospital. He stayed with me for a bit till the wife got there because she was at work. It was funny though. I texted the wife. I was like, "So I'm on my way to the hospital." She's like, "What the fuck happened?" And
just furious. Like, what the fuck? Like,
well, because she knows too, right? Like, she's been to a million shows with me. She knows how fucking hard I can go. And she's like, "What the fuck happened?" And I was like, "I dislocated the shit out of my knee." And then when she showed up to the hospital, she gave Stiv a lift home. And then we were at we got there at 10 o'clock at night. I didn't leave the hospital till almost 6 a.m.
Fuck. That's brutal, but kind of hilarious, right?
I mean,
that's
funny.
just fun.
Don't get me wrong, and I obviously got a good sense of humor about it, but that's not to say obviously it wasn't easily one of the most embarrassing things that's ever happened to me.
Sorry, You
I was
go
gonna
ahead.
say, that's got to be? Is that the most embarrassing moment you've ever had on stage, Chris? Or is there worse than that?
Yeah, I'd probably say so. There was one other time actually. There was one time in North Shore where I fell on stage, but I didn't like fuck myself up or anything. I was just hammered because I remember it was one of the headlining shows we were doing at the Mustache Club, and
Rest in peace.
yeah, rest in peace. That venue was
Yes.
fucking
I
awesome.
loved that place.
But anyway, yeah. So it was one of the headlining shows North Shore was doing at the Mustache Club, and because we were headlining, we didn't go on till like fucking like 12:45 in the morning, and load in was at like 5. So like I was hammered by the time we went on, obviously. And yeah, I just went to go like we had like a light box that Nolan actually built.
Oh yeah, that was the
Yeah.
Embodier light box.
Yeah. So we had a light box up front stage, and I was standing on it, and then I jumped off it to time it with like a breakdown, and I totally just fell on my ass. I don't think anyone really noticed though, because I never heard anybody bring it up to me. But now that it's out there, yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
fuck,
now
I must have been
I'm
at
gonna
that
bring it
show.
up to
I
you
don't
every
remember
time.
at all.
What's that?
So I'm going to bring it up to you every time I see you now.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, hey man, remember that time you fell on your ass when you?
I mean, it's bound to happen, man. Like I go hard at shows, like whether I'm playing or not playing. So it's
Well, I'm surprised stuff like that hasn't happened before. Really,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
is that like? Have you had other like onstage injuries? And same for you, Stiv. Have you ever had like any onstage injuries or anything, or have you been pretty lucky?
I think I've been pretty lucky. The worst is just how bad your neck hurts the next day. That's the worst of it.
I mean, he's
That's
still
it.
a youngin' too, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give it some time. Something will happen, I'm sure, with my luck.
I got like fucking 10 years on Stivs, so I got that old man energy.
Yeah, same here, bro. we got over here. I remember I went to what show did I go to? Fuck. Whatever. It's irrelevant what show I went to, but
I want to know.
the next day my neck was so sore. I had to call into work and I thought something was genuinely wrong with me.
Fuck.
Yeah.
I went to my chiropractor and he was like, yeah, your neck's just stiff. You're fine. Like, what did you do? And I told him and he was like, so your neck's just sore because you were doing this all fucking night. Like, you idiot. And I'm like, ow.
It happens.
Yeah, no, the only other crazy things I've ever had happen at shows, and they weren't shows I was playing, they were just ones I was attending. When I was at Alice in Chains, actually, I saw their first comeback show at the Opera House when they first got William Duvall.
Ooh.
And
Yo.
yeah, it was sick. It was a dope show. Anyway, there was literally a bitch who fucking shot up heroin right in front of me. Like
Nice.
and
It's the place to be.
yeah, well, exactly. Right? Pretty standard for an Alice in Chains show. And then the only other one was I saw the Misfits back in like 2009. And at the end of the set, like obviously if you know the Misfits and you know their kind of stage costumes, right? Like they wear those huge studded like armbands. So at the end of the set, actually, Jerry only took his off and he fucking threw it into the crowd and I caught it. And I was just like, holy fuck, like I caught it. And this chick, like 2 people in front of me, literally grabbed my arm and bit the fuck out of me until I let go of it, and then
What the
snagged it out of my hand.
Should have bit in the back.
Oh, if it wasn't a
Was
chick,
it the same chick who was shooting up heroin? Probably.
Probably.
maybe,
Probably.
if she wasn't,
No, that's a different drug.
If she wasn't a chick, obviously, I would have fucking decked him. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah. Just bites
no,
you.
it was bad. It was bad, dude. Like I was bleeding and shit. Like she bit me hard as fuck.
Like, did you like go to the hospital? Because I would have
No.
gone to the hospital.
I mean, I was like 18 at the time. I was like, fuck it.
Still,
I'm fine.
would have been like, this bitch bit me. Like,
Who knows? Maybe I have AIDS now. Who knows?
Probably.
Jesus.
That explains where I got it from. Shit.
Shit.
But yeah, I know. Like all in all, yeah, the knee dislocation was pretty shit, man. But I don't know. I got a pretty good sense of humor about that shit. So I mean, my Facebook profile for a while was one that one of my best friends did for me actually, like the day after, and I fucking loved it. So
And it is, of course, the famous Peter Griffin where he falls and he holds his knee and goes, ah! But it's as Chris and his bass is on the floor and he's holding his knee. And I just thought that was just hilarious.
I was so happy to see that.
yeah, we were talking about doing shirts.
I mean, you still could. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Listen,
It's
we'll do a
possible.
joint production. Harder
do it.
Show X Chris.
Ex Seagrave.
X
Get us all
Seagrave.
remember.
Yeah, that's it. That's better marketing right there.
Fuck
See,
it.
that's Steve's got a mind for that shit.
That's what
And
I'm
we'll
here
we'll make a limited run of it and it'll be great.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It sucked. I'm in like week 4 of physio. It's slowly getting there. I'm not walking on crutches. I can actually drive again. I got a little bit of a limp, and I got to like obviously take it pretty easy during doing certain shit, but it's getting there.
Well, and that's kind of got to sucked for in one way too, because like, you know, it's not like you got hurt at work. Like,
yeah,
like
I was off work for
you
a
know,
month.
it's like, so it's not like you're just kind of like, oh shit, like if something like that happened to me, like I'd be, well, actually that's not necessarily true, but I'd be like, shit, like this is not good. Like I can't.
I got pretty lucky. Like in my position I'm in now, like I'm management and stuff like that. So for the first like week and a half, 2 weeks I was off. Like I was working from home and still getting paid and stuff. But then as soon as I got the note from the fracture clinic saying I had to be off for like a month, I just took an LOA, got, you know, EI, all that bullshit. But,
yeah, that's the way to do it. Because I mean, shit, you can't walk. I mean, that's kind of an issue when you're running a kitchen, right?
I felt the worst for my wife, man. The first 2 weeks I was off, I couldn't do fucking anything. Like my whole life was literally just waking up, moving from like my bed to the couch to the bathroom, and that was it. Like wife was like walking the dog, doing everything. I skipped the dishes for like every fucking meal, basically.
Doesn't sound too bad.
I mean, you know, I do that anyway, so you know, it's fine. Like, yeah, it's funny because like my wife, it was February, February. She basically hurt her ankle really bad, and it was a similar situation. Like she couldn't do anything, shouldn't work, nothing. Like it was just like, and it's you feel bad for your partner. And she was just like, I feel so bad. Oh my God. Like I'm a horrible person. It's like, it's not your fault this happened. Like you fell on, I mean, she just fell on ice, you know?
Yeah.
But like, what are we going to do? Just sue the city of Peterborough? Like,
yes.
I mean, you could have.
I mean, you know,
I don't see why not.
Hey,
after recent events,
you motherfuckers.
Like I said, I kind of slipped when it happened on stage. Right. And I had like, obviously people not in the scene or anything like that.
Yeah.
But, you know, other people I know and like mostly older people, they're like, you should fucking sue that venue. I was like, let me get right on that. Let me go ahead and
sue a fucking venue that's already hurting after the last 2 years.
And one that like constantly allows us to play and is very accommodating and very nice to us. Yeah. Let me get right on that.
Let me get on that.
That's a fucking smart idea and burn pretty much all my bridges in the scene as soon as I do that.
Can you imagine, like just for a second,
like I said, that was
you're the guy who sued the venue you got hurt at.
I'm the guy who sued Sneaky D's because I dislocated my fucking knee. Like I said, pretty much anybody who said that to me was people though who were like, you know, 40 plus, not the music scene, you know. But yeah,
no, I get what they're saying, but it's like
me. Damn. I said it.
Yeah,
it's Stiv. I mean, let's be honest.
It's my idea.
Stiv was a big advocate.
He's a big advocate for suing the fuck out of music venues.
Oh, yeah, he set up a GoFundMe and a fucking change.org.
Yeah.
Oh fuck, that's fantastic. Well, you know, I had to ask about that, but getting into, well, before we even talk about Seagrave though, let me change focus here for a second, because Stiv, what overall have you been up to the last few years in a nutshell, man? I mean, I've been following what you've been doing. Like obviously, you know, Embodier came to an end, which I know I did talk about at one point on the show, and then you were doing another project that then became Seagrave. Like,
pretty much,
what you've been doing the last little while, man.
Nothing too exciting. I mean, Embodier ended, and then, you know, I wasn't done with music yet. I wasn't quite ready to retire yet at 18, but so then, you remember Zach Potter, my old buddy. He introduced me to some of his friends, and that would be Jacob, our old guitarist, and Mac McLean, our vocalist. And they had a little band together. It didn't have a name or anything, but damn, were they heavy. And I like heavy. And so I joined them.
And made it heavier.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. I told them, look, we're only in drop E. We got to go down 3 more semitones.
Okay. I remember, Chris, you sent me this demo and you were just like, I think it was like just like a little clip of it. And you were like, dude, like, look at how low this is.
Yeah. So,
and it was barely even a note. It was so like, what are you tuning to now?
So we're actually in C sharp, but a full octave down.
Jesus.
But I don't tune my bass that low. My bass is actually in G sharp. So I just use it to kind of harmonize. And it also adds like, Stiv, like, don't get me wrong. This went back and forth for a bit. Like, I've been in Seagrave now for actually over a year, but we're just obviously releasing stuff. I just did my first couple shows with the guys. There was a pretty big back and forth for a bit. Like, it took me a long time to kind of warm up to tuning that low. And
rightly so.
And then even still, like, I found a way to tune my bass where I was still harmonizing, but it wasn't that low to where it was just in, because when you tune that low on a bass, it's just like inaudible.
There's nothing. There's just, even if you were on a fucking 6-string bass, it wouldn't matter.
Yeah, it's very it's inaudible. So I found a way where I could tune to. It's a super weird tuning. So I only play a 4-string, surprisingly, which everyone seems shocked by with how low we are. So the highest 3 strings are actually tuned to like normal C sharp tuning. So like G sharp. What am I saying? G sharp, C sharp, F sharp.
Yeah.
But my bottom string, so the lowest string, is actually tuned to also G sharp, but it's an octave below the one up from it.
Okay, I hear
you. It actually harmonizes with their guitars, and it actually adds quite a level of like kind of doomy grunge to it, which is pretty neat.
It like turns every open note into a power chord.
Yeah, more or less.
It's this great big, just in a good way, wall of sound that you guys have. Like that's what surprised me the most when I heard the single, was because I was like, I knew in my head, okay, this is going to be tuned ridiculously low. It's going to be just like, you know, and I heard it and I went, fuck, like there's some serious like harmony going on here. Like, I wonder what that is. So that's cool to hear about the bass. Like I wondered what was causing that kind of, like you said, almost like it sounds like a power chord.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm not the best musician, but I'm pretty sure it literally technically is a power chord. Like,
more or less. Yeah.
What are you, 7 above me?
Yeah, something like that. 7 steps above.
Yeah.
That sounds correct. So let's go with that.
I think so. Sounds good enough to me. We're metal musicians.
Same thing. As much as it took me a while to warm up to how low they were tuned, it took Stiv a while too, and the other guys to warm up to how my bass was tuned. Because at first, obviously, like it sounds kind of weird, right? When
it took a little bit of getting used to, and then I think it was when you set up your new bass rig.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, as soon as I got my new bass rig together, which is fucking disgusting now, which is, I'm very appreciative that I took the time to do it because I get compliments on my bass tone like all the fucking time. But yeah, no, it's fucking devastating. I hope you come out to see us live one time, dude, because like honestly, live we sound just as heavy as we do on recording.
I think we sound heavier, just slightly, ever so slightly. I don't know if we sound better, but we sound heavier.
I don't know if we sound better.
Because that was a big question. That was a big question I got too, right? Like when we dropped the single, I had, or even before we dropped it, like, and I was showing people, we had a bunch of people ask us like, oh, like, you probably put a bunch of effects on it to make it sound that bassy and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, not really, dude. Like, that's pretty much our straight fucking guitar and bass tones, more or less.
It's pretty raw.
Yeah.
Like,
I didn't do a ton to it. Yeah.
So walk me through that for a second. Like just to talk about the single Butchered for a second here. Like, so when you, like Chris, you did the recording in that for the single, correct?
Yeah. So I recorded, mixed and mastered all of it. Right
on. So Stiv, when you're recording the guitars, like, so you're using an 8-string baritone, correct?
Yes, I am.
So when you sit down to record that, I've got to imagine, like, especially Chris, you being a studio guy, it's like, the clarity that you still have with your guitar tone is it's such a delicate dance, right? Where it's okay, we gotta get the heaviness, but
we
re-recorded Butchered like 3-4 times, just trying to, like, I hear a little bit of twankiness here. Let's redo the whole song, and then
yeah, we literally had, so we got 3 tracks like pretty much completely done right now. It got to the point we were finished all 3 tracks for guitars and instruments and shit. And then I was like, okay, you know what? Actually, we're going to redo all 3 of them.
And I'm glad we did.
Yeah, but it worked out great because, I mean, they sound fucking devastating now. Obviously, you're your own worst critic. There's things I hear in Butchered that I'm like, fuck, I could have, done that a bit better and whatever. But, the reception we've got from it has been amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of like you said earlier, one of the biggest things I've heard from people is like, man, with how low you guys tune, I was expecting it to just sound like fucking muddy garbage. But like, I can't believe how clear you got all those guitars and everything.
Well, and again, that's like, it shocked me where I was like, not shocked isn't the right word, but I was just like, there's a lot of clarity here.
Yeah.
And with the lead guitar parts too, where it's very, kind of very groovy and trippy. I wasn't expecting that. I was like, this is really interesting. And like, even like Stiv, what you're doing on the rhythm, especially in like the bridge part and that, like where it's very melodic. I was kind of like, that's fucking dope. Like,
That's
fuck it.
yeah. I'm actually doing the lead there. Believe it or not, I've moved up in the world.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that. Shit, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Okay, so
Totally.
Yeah, no, Stiv
let's talk about the fucking lead then, because I was like, I just assumed.
No,
I
that's
knew
okay.
you were
I
always
would've
rhythm,
assumed
so
too.
I was like,
I've always been rhythm. I think last time we talked, I literally went on a good couple minute rant about how I've just always been rhythm guitar. Just never like, as a kid, I was never like, I want to learn this solo. Exactly. I was just like, oh, this riff is sick. I want to learn that, instead of being like, man, I love that solo. Like, I'm like that now, but like as a kid, I was just
I'm very much the same way. Even with my, like, don't get me wrong, I'm not nearly as good of a guitarist as Stiv is, but
doubts.
I suck.
But same thing. I hear riffs. I don't hear leads and solos and shit and go, I need to learn that. Like, I can't fucking sweep for shit. I can't solo for shit, but I hear a dirty riff and I'm like, yeah, I want to learn that.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's what's so cool. Like with what you're doing on the lead parts, like, there is it's very like, I can't even really put my finger on it, because I'm listening to these parts and I'm almost like taken out of the song for a second in a good way. Just like, fuck, it's melodic and tasteful and like, but it's still dark and it's like, fuck, like I really liked that part. And it's funny because it harkens back a little bit.
Oh yeah.
You're going to remember this when I say it, but the stuff you were uploading on the SoundCloud, fucking 5 years ago.
I guess so.
It kind of gave me that vibe a little bit in some parts.
I could see how.
And I was like, fuck, this is cool, man. Like, I really
I appreciate you saying that.
Stiv super doesn't give himself enough credit for how well he can play and write. And honestly, like, I don't even know if I've told you this, to be honest. And I'm not just trying to like fucking gush because we're on a podcast, but like legit, man, like you're one of the few people I've collaborated with that like you and I actually write so fucking good together. I mean, when we recorded Butchered and, the same night we re-recorded fucking both the other tracks that we're, working on putting out too. Mm-hmm. Stiv and I just, I don't know, we bounce ideas off each other so well, and we're both very open to each other's ideas, and it just works really well.
Got a really good system going. And likewise, like you're by far the best studio person. I've never worked with any other studio person, but I couldn't imagine working in a studio. You know what I mean? This guy's amazing. You've heard firsthand how good.
I mean, I've never worked with anyone else, but you're the best.
But I mean, no complaints here. I love working with you.
Yeah, no, it's very fluent. It's very organic, and like I said, we're both very open to each other's ideas and shit. Like, even when we're recording, it's like these are songs that, even with Butchered, for example, it's like, this fucking song's 3 years old. The band's been playing it for 3 years, well before I even joined. And even still, when we were recording, I was like, you know what? Try doing this instead. Try doing that instead.
Yeah, we changed a lot.
Yeah, and Stiv was very open to it, and it ended up working out great. Like, it sounded fucking awesome. So it's very easy to work with, and it's a great system we have going on.
Chris definitely has by far the best ear in the band. Like, some of the shit he'll hear when we're recording, he'll hit you with an idea and you're just like, what? No, why would I do that? And then you do it. It's like, okay, that's staying.
And that's what that is.
Yeah, like the entire ending lead in Butchered, that was never there until like our final recording session. He's like, you could add something here, and so I did, and I'll be damned if that doesn't add a whole lot to the song.
Oh, for sure. That's one of my favorite parts.
Thank you.
I love that lead out, man. Like, that's so.
I appreciate that.
I cannot take all the credit, though. It's not like I told Stiv what to play. He just did it.
Sure. It's just, hey, we need something here.
Yeah.
You know, it's having that ear for it, right?
It took, it took like 100 takes. So I guess you kind of could say you did tell me what to play.
I mean, yeah, like it's funny when before we recorded, I kind of warned the guys too. Like I warned Stiv and even Mac before he came in to do vocals. I was like, I'm just giving you the heads up, man. Like I'm real picky with takes. Like you're probably gonna like by the end of the night, you're gonna fucking hate me. But then when you listen to the song, you're gonna see why. Because I don't know. I guess I'm really picky. I have the ear to be like, you know, I kind of hear a little bit of string scratch right there on like a string you're not supposed to be playing.
Yeah, he says shit. And it's like, no, you're making that up. I don't believe
that's
you.
That's not a thing.
And then we re-record it, and it's like, that does sound better. That does sound a lot better. I still don't know what you heard in the first place, but it does sound better.
I don't know what it was you heard, but good on you, son.
Exactly.
Well, that's too. That's one great thing about having a guy in the band who does do the production and mixing and stuff like that, and the recording is like, yes, it's your baby, so to speak. So you're going to care about it regardless if you're recording it or not. But when you're recording it and your name's on it, like you want it to be perfect, not only because it's your song, but also your name's on it production wise. You don't want to put out a product that's like, oh, this was recorded so sloppy. Listen to this. Like, you know what I mean?
100%. Like I do rappers and stuff too. And as much as I'm not a huge hip hop guy, I actually do enjoy mixing it and recording it quite a bit. What's that?
Hip hoppity.
Yeah.
Don't stop till you drop it.
But same thing, like I'll hear a rapper fumble in a line and I'm just like, bro, you fucked that up. He's like, what are you talking about? I didn't. And I'll play it back like 8 fucking times before he finally hears it. And I'm like, there it is. You heard it. But yeah, at the end of the day, exactly right. It's my name on it as much as it is yours. You're going to tell people where you recorded it. You're going to tell people who mixed it, and it's my name on it, and it's what's going to bring me more or less business depending. So
right. And if it sounds like absolute dog shit,
yeah,
then
exactly.
like what's
like I was like, I don't know. I still listen to Butchered, and like I said before, there's things in it that I hear that I'm like, I probably could have fucking done that a little better, and blah blah blah. But even showing that track to other producer friends and stuff who also primarily do metal and shit, they were all like, holy fuck, bro. Like you keep that up, like you got a fucking solid fucking career in front of you. So
that's awesome. Easily, I mean, you do like, you're even the stuff you've done before this. I mean, I've had you on to talk about basically everything you've done for the last couple of years, but like you've got a real talent for it. And like, that's something that nowadays can anyone grab a microphone and be like, hey guys, I'm a recording engineer. Sure. But there's a big fucking difference between people who should be doing that and people who actually can do it.
I can't take super.
That's the difference between Chris and I.
Yeah, I was going to say, so like, I remember when we were first tracking and stuff like that, like Stiv had demos obviously of like all the tracks that we ended up recording and Butchered included. And, he'd play them and he's like, this sounds fine or whatever. And then I'm listening to it and I'm just like, we could do this way better. He's like, I don't know, man. Like, it sounds pretty good. And then he heard obviously what we tracked and he was like,
okay.
Oh, that's what that is.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
But no, it's a lot of fun. I have a lot of fun mixing Seagrave. It's been a long haul, like Jesus Christ. I would say easily I had 30 hours just into Butchered alone. But it's easily been my most challenging fucking band to mix because of how low it's tuned and everything. And then I started getting fucky with it. Like I added all the like synth and piano and fucking violins and all that shit that's in the background too.
Tuba.
And it got out of hand to the point where I was like, all right, I'm fucking like 30 40 hours into this fucking thing. Like as much as there's probably some stuff I could do better, like I'm over it. Like let's put it out. It sounds good enough. It already sounds way better than like some commercial deathcore bands I've heard. So like
sure
let's just fucking put it out.
Well, that's the thing too, right? Is like you can spend hours and hours on stuff and then it's almost too much.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? Like there's some stuff I hear that I'm like, I say the same thing with podcasting. Is there's some podcasts I hear just to put it over in my world where they'll be like, oh yes, I spend 10 hours on each episode editing and doing production. And I'm listening and I go, this just sounds like it's a robot, man. Like there's no breathing room here. There's music isn't supposed to be perfect all the time, right?
No,
it's a living, breathing thing. It shouldn't be so polished that, like, that's always my bitch with some modern rock bands and stuff, is like, it's so polished. There's no, where's the grit? Where's the dirt? Just a little bit, at least.
You lose the vibe of the actual musicianship, right? I mean, even with us, like, as much as sure, our stuff sounds polished at the end of the day too. There's still some little things in there that, like, I didn't edit out, like little fucking extra string hits or like things like that, because I'm like, at the end of the day, like, I personally don't really like when deathcore is probably the worst genre for it, and probably gent, I guess, too. And as much as, don't get me wrong, I love both those genres, at the end of the day, it's like they fucking put so much effort into everything sounding insanely precise that I'm just like, I don't know, man. Like, fucking some bands can pull it off live, but at the end of the day too, like, I don't know, you need a little bit of that grit in there.
See, this is what I meant when I said that Chris has the best ear in the band. It all just sounds good to me. Nice and heavy. This guy, he knows what he's talking about. He's like, I could do that better. I'm sure you could.
I don't know. I can't take like all the credit. I just, I learned from good guys. Like, as much as, I might have been, for the more or less, self-taught, a lot of YouTube, a lot of shit like that. Same time too, two of the guys I learned the most from was Keegan and also my buddy Brandon Dornboss, who I was in Avondale with. He really took me under his wing too, and same thing, showed me how to really do things and pick out frequencies and all that kind of shit. And I learned a ton from them, and I'm super grateful because they've if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be anywhere near where I am now. So
that's awesome. Shout outs to them. There's some serious talent there. I mean, I think the world of Keegan. I don't know the other cat there, but like
Dornboss, actually, he's the one who he actually mixed and mastered our Kingdra single.
Oh, right on. Okay, cool. Yeah. I know he did some recording, but I wasn't super familiar with his work. But definitely super talented for sure, and obviously Keegan. I think the world of him and his work, obviously. Yeah. That's awesome. One thing I wanted to ask about with Butchered, one of my other favorite parts of the song. You're probably gonna be able to guess, Chris, which part this is, but it's in that first verse, because one cool thing about this song is you guys have Josh from Wraith Eternal doing a feature on it as well. And there's this one part, and I believe it's in the first verse, where there's like 4 different voices all kind of intertwining for a minute there. And obviously I can pick out where you are, obviously, because I'm a big fan of your voice. So I'm like, okay, well, that's obviously Chris. You stick out like, oh, that's obviously Chris, because it's you're more of like kind of the metalcore, hardcore side of things with your yell. Is there a 4th person doing vocals in that?
No, that was actually Josh actually doesn't come in until the end of that song. That's all just me and Mac.
Jesus. Okay, that's what I was going to ask. Is just super talented cat, Mac, man. Like, holy fuck. If you told me that was 4 different people, I'd believe you. Like,
no, Mac has incredible range. It took me a little bit to kind of get him out of his shell. He didn't have a lot of experience recording, and the first time we brought him in, he was nervous, and you could hear that in his takes. But then, as he got more comfortable, and obviously him and I got closer and shit too. Because we didn't really we weren't friends before I was in the band, so once him and I got a little closer, he got way more comfortable. And then, he just came in finally and, did the Butchered takes probably, I don't know what, fucking 2 weeks ago, like before we put it out. I probably spent 2 weeks mixing roughly. And he just fucking slayed, like he just killed it.
That's fucking awesome. And I mean, he does like, that's like, I'm not a huge, my metal vocals that I prefer are more like a your style, just the, kind of that more mid-rangey type stuff. But I got mad fucking respect for peeps that can go that super low and can kind of hang out in that range, and still it can be very pronounced, and there's still melody there. Like they're still hitting a note, like they're pitching and they're still hitting a note. Because a lot of times in that kind of deathcore, death metal type vocals, there are some guys you'll hear that it's just like a bunch of noise all together. I sound super fucking old saying that, but like, it's just, I hear it sometimes and I'm like, are you puking into a microphone? Like, what's going on? Like,
No,
you're dying into a microphone if you're Chris Barnes, but that's
yeah. No, you're
The song goes hard though. I love that song.
Yo, you already know the song I'm talking about, right?
Oh yeah.
That shit slaps. I don't even care.
I don't care. I jam that shit. I love it.
No, one thing I'll give Mac. Yeah, Mac has great pronunciation too. I mean,
does.
Even you see it all the time, even with like massive, deathcore bands and shit. Like the biggest example I always use is CJ from Thy Art Is Murder. Like, don't get me wrong.
I thought you were gonna say the other CJ.
No, doesn't piss on girls. Yeah, fucking. No. CJ from Thy Art, like don't get me wrong, great vocalist. That band is fantastic. They'll always hold a huge place in my heart. One of the first super, super heavier bands I started getting into. Obviously, I'm fucking old, so like Whore to a Chainsaw was like first shit I ever heard. But anyway, my point is even as commercially successful as they are, and they put out banging records and shit, his pronunciation is still not great. Like most Thy Art songs you listen to, I mean, you can't really understand a ton of what he's saying. His tone is, don't get me wrong. Again, I'm not talking shit about the guy. His tone's fantastic. But you're still kind of missing a little bit of that pronunciation. Mac, I find though, whether he's super low or super high, like I can still understand every fucking word he's saying.
Well, and that was something that always, like, one of my shouts to the boys in Beguiler. Like, was something I always loved so much about his, and I told him that when I was talking with him, I was like, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
So I really like your guys' stuff.
Yeah.
If I know what you're saying, it makes it more enjoyable for me, Like,
yeah, no, I love Coolidge as a vocalist. The guy's fucking phenomenal. Great guy too. I'm pretty close with the guy. Like him and I chat all the time, and great guy.
Love that guy.
Yeah, they actually shout out to the guy that actually just dropped a badass fucking new EP.
Oh, so good.
Yeah,
so good.
Yeah, I messaged Jacob as soon as they dropped that too, and fucking bought a hoodie off them because I was like, bro, that fucking shit slaps. And my good buddy Gord actually just joined them not long ago. I know you're familiar.
Yeah, with shout out to Gordy, man. Haven't talked to him in a minute, but yeah, much love to Gord, man.
Yeah, Gord's my boy. I fucking love that dude.
There's all these cats in the scene that like I haven't talked to, and like, I mean, Stiv's one of them, obviously. Like that, I'm like, I got so much love for, especially with the early days of the show and gigs music and all that shit. Like, and I'm just like, I could not see y'all for like 8 years, and I just be like, yo, what's up? Like, big hug. I'm like, yo, man, I just got all the love for that, man.
I love that the local scene's kind of become that in the last few years. I mean, I remember, my first band Ventura back in 2010, 2011. The scene was very different. It was a lot of, you'd go to a show and it's like, well, I'm fucking better than you, so I'm not going to even talk to you. And now the scene is very much not that. I mean, shit, when we played that show back in October with Beguiler and Pillars and our homies in Matria too, it was just a big fucking homie fest, man. Like everyone was just like, yo, what the fuck's up, man? Like, it's so good to see you. And everybody was super hyped to see everybody play. And it was a great time, man. And I love that the scene's become that. You even see it on social media now. Like any of those bands drop a fucking single and it's like all of them are sharing it. All of them are fucking, plugging it. It's great.
Yeah, it's something I see even, like I'll have people reach out to me to come on the show and they're like, oh, you have my buddy, blah, 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 blah. And like, we'll talk for 15, 20 minutes before we even press record about how awesome all the other bands are. And like, it's so refreshing to see that because not that long ago, like you said, Chris, like that wasn't necessarily the thing. And there's so much love in the metal community as well for fellow artists. I mean, like we just saw as we're recording this, it just actually happened this week. Where's Trevor from the Black Dahlia Murder just passed away.
Dude, that cut me deep. Black Dahlia, like as much as I'm not going to try and front, I haven't listened to a ton of them lately, but their first two bigger albums like Miasma and fucking Nocturnal were,
of course,
two of the first death metal deathcore albums that really got me into that shit. Their DVD Majesty, I still have it on my fucking shelf and I still throw that thing on like once a year because it's fucking hilarious. And that shit breaks my fucking heart, dude. big nostalgia for that band. As soon as I saw that, it was one of those days I was, crazy busy at work. I didn't have time to check my phone. And the first time I actually saw it was Stiv actually messaging saying that Trevor died. And I was just like, oh, dude, are you fucking serious? Like that's a huge hit to everybody. And especially the way he went out, like, suicide. I'm assuming suicide because the band shared the suicide prevention line. Mm-hmm. It's fucking heartbreaking, man. Yeah, I met him once, actually. Me and my buddy went to see Black Dahlia in Toronto back in, I want to say it was like 2011 probably. They played at the Rec Room when that was still a thing. We showed up like super early. We ended up smoking weed with him and, a couple of the other guys in the band. And he was just the nicest fucking guy, man. Like so fucking nice, so humble and shit. Like, even though at the time still they were a bigger band, like he was still super like, oh man, like thanks so much for coming out and like especially coming early and like smoking us up and like all this like super fucking awesome guy.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where, it is in one regard, it's a really beautiful thing to see how much love there has been in the community. That's I guess is my point is, there is so much love and, there's been stories of like bands reaching out to other bands about it and stuff. And like, just the outpouring of love has been amazing for, again, I've always made it pretty well known that I'm not much of a deathcore, death metal guy. It's just never really been my forte, but mad respect, and huge respect to, to him and the legacy of Black Dahlia Murder. I mean, come on, like everyone knows that fucking band. If you're in the metal scene and if you're a deathcore, death metal fan, they were probably the band that got you in it. He's probably the vocalist that really introduced you to that genre,
An absolute legend.
Oh yeah, for sure, man, for sure. But before we get ready to wrap up here, I wanted to ask, because we haven't really touched on it yet. So Stiv, when you were, I think I just called you Stiv. Stiv.
That's okay. Call me whatever you want.
Stiv.
I'm not picky with names.
When did the transition happen from the band that, so you guys were, before you were Seagrave, was it Sunnyvale 905?
Sunnyvale,
right?
905 before. So 905 was only there because Facebook wouldn't let us just name it Sunnyvale, but it's stuck.
I think we must have talked about that at some point, because I'm remembering that in my head where I messaged you. It was like, what's with the 905? And you were like, Facebook. And I was like, that makes sense.
It's like that. Even with Seagrave, we had to make the grave.
The A. Yes, right.
Triangle.
Yeah, right.
It's like a triangle. Like the word grave, apparently.
So silly. Like what? Like, come on, man. But they'll let you upload a song called Butchered on their video thing. Like what?
No biggie.
Like, come on, man.
Some of the other shit you see on there, it's like, how'd they get that out?
I know, right? Curious. Interesting. Anyway, but so when the transition happened into Seagrave, and then obviously this guy showed up at some point, how did that all kind of go down? Like when did Chris kind of start coming into the picture?
Did we change the name before you, or were you in the band when?
No, I was in the band when it was still Sunnyvale.
Okay.
I had just joined. Yeah.
Okay.
But there was already talks of changing it to Seagrave.
Yeah. So basically, the way we got Chris in first, basically just with COVID and everything, our old bassist Zach, love him to death, but you just stopped coming around, and I can't blame him. Shit was fucked back then.
I mean, yeah.
And and we just eventually had to move on. And I mean, Chris, he was like, "Hey, I like you guys. Let's jam." And we're like, "Yeah, let's jam." And one thing led to another, and he's our bassist and our producer and pretty much our most integral member,
engineer.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of hats.
and then for the name Seagrave, basically we realized we couldn't stick with Sunnyvale for a number of reasons. One, it was just stupid to name it Sunnyvale in the first place, kind of. Because if you don't know, Sunnyvale is the name of the trailer park and Trailer Park Boys.
Right. Yeah. So
I didn't realize at the time that Trailer Park Boys actually had a shit ton of merch out that just said Sunnyvale and stuff. And I think I was at a hockey game or something, and I saw someone in a hockey jersey, but it just said Sunnyvale on it. And I was like, oh shit, that's exactly something I had in mind. That's going to be a conflict of interest. All right, boys, let's change the name. And we came up with the name, Mac and I. Doug, our drummer, he lives up in Pefferlaw. So we were going up there to jam with him one day.
What the hell is that? I don't know.
You don't know where Pefferlaw is?
I've never even heard of that place before.
Oh, it's a beautiful little town. It's fuck, where is it? It's like it's kind of in the boonies. It's in the middle of nowhere.
It's probably like 45
east of
minutes.
Keswick.
Yeah, 45 minutes north of Oshawa, roughly.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No disrespect on the wonderful town, I'm sure. I just never even heard of that place.
I was like, fuck Keswick. No, I love Keswick. Shout out to the great people of Keswick. But so we were going up on our way to Keswick, and on the way there's a little town by the name of Seagrave, just outside of Port Perry. And Mac and I, we saw the road sign. We looked at each other, and we're like, God damn, that is sick. And we didn't even have to say it. That was the new name.
That's hard. Seagrave is hard.
I'm glad you think so.
Yeah.
And it just happens. It's actually like literally the perfect halfway point.
Yeah, it's exactly halfway
where Doug lives. So yeah,
that's freaking sweet. I wonder where the name came from. I was like, there's got to be a story there.
I don't know. It's a landlocked town, so like I'm a history buff. That's usually my stuff, but I haven't been able to find anything out on why they name a landlocked town Seagrave. Like I don't think there's any graves in the sea.
That's got to be
Ontario farmland.
Huh. Interesting.
I like it though.
Oh no, it's sick. I love it. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
You know, I'm always fascinated by names and band names and things like that, and why bands change over and things of that nature. Now, as we end off here, obviously what I want to do is once I let you guys go, I want to play the single for everybody.
Oh yeah.
So they can check it out if they haven't yet, because it is absolutely badass.
At
this point here now, so you guys have had a couple shows. Yeah. What's kind of next on the horizon right now for Seagrave? Do you have anything else coming up?
We've got another show booked for June 3rd at the Lion Pub and Grill in Newmarket with Itis. I think that's how you pronounce their name. They're fucking sick, though. I love those guys. And above them, we got Cruel Intent. They just put out an EP yesterday, 2 days ago?
Yeah, yesterday, actually.
If you like Beguiler's EP, you have to check out Cruel Intent's EP.
It's pretty dope.
It's so good.
I'm writing it down.
Yeah, Cruel Intent. That's all one word. Check him out on all social medias and stuff.
And then, on that show too, we also got Beguiler.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then Tangents is the headliner. It's their single release show.
Yeah.
So
I thought it was an EP release,
or maybe it's EP. Sorry, I might be mistaken.
I hope so. They better not just be teasing us with one single.
They're also really dope. Super weird, kind of like mathcore band.
Love their sound.
They're pretty sick though. So yeah, that's June 3rd in Newmarket. Come out, watch me break my other fucking leg.
Yeah, you can just expect this at every Seagrave thing. Like, it's our new thing.
At your other fucking knee.
And once both of his legs are fucked, we're going to switch to the next member. We're going to pull straws.
It's going to be your guys' gimmick now. Every time someone comes to see Seagrave play, they're going to expect the fucking dislocated.
No, it's been dope though, man. Like I've only played 2 shows with the band, but the reception we've gotten from those 2 shows, and then even the single too, has been awesome. Like I said, even other producer friends I showed it to and stuff like that. And then every time we've played a show, like everyone's just like blown away by, they're just like, I can't believe how fucking heavy you guys are. Like, this shit's ridiculous.
Which is true. I mean, it is. It's just like, what the fuck? Like, I'm in my car listening to it and I pull up to a stoplight and I've got the shit just blaring and everyone's just looking over at me. I'm just like,
I remember our first show we played, my wife came out and she had heard us like jam a couple times and stuff, but she never heard us obviously like when we're playing Sneaky D's, like everything is mic'd, right?
Right.
And she was just like, I couldn't believe, like, you guys started, and she's like, I fucking couldn't believe how fucking deep and low everything was. Like, just like the whole fucking venue shook. Like,
which is exactly what we're going for.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
Even during sound check, like I'll just start playing bass and the fucking sound guy's like, oh my God, that bass tone.
First off, they don't even say anything. You just see them on their face. You just get this stank face going on. Like, they like it. Which
that's got to be, that's like one of the greatest compliments, isn't it? When the sound guys just give you the stank face, just.
Yeah.
And then we start our set and that stank face goes away. They're like, oh, turn it off.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, we're pretty shit.
Yeah, terrible.
We're actually terrible. I wouldn't recommend coming out to see us.
That's the whole thing. The music's not very good. It's all about stunts. We're breaking knees and shit.
and busting out Limp Bizkit covers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on.
Did you tell him?
No, I didn't tell him.
Oh, shit.
That was a real hot debate for a minute.
Yeah. It wasn't much of a debate even. It was all like, yeah, let's do that. Yeah, let's do that.
Just never happened? What the hell?
I mean,
the day's still young.
Hey, what's this?
Nice
An exclusive here. What's the song?
Rolling.
Oh, come on, really? Come on,
Air
bro,
raid
you can do better
vehicle.
than that. What about like Gold Cobra?
Well, we didn't say there was
Come
only one
on.
song.
That's true.
Shit. Okay, I'm for it.
We could be doing a whole set. We might even be dressing up.
I was gonna say, so
Eat you alive.
One thing we will we all leak right now for the show, if you want to come out June 3rd, we are doing a cover that day that is very well known by a very big band.
It's not Limp Bizkit, but
It starts with an S and ends with not.
Oh shit.
what the fuck? That's way too easy.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
And of course they are talking about the band Still
No,
Notes.
it's the other one, not that one.
I mean, that's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, it'll be heavy.
Dope.
It'll be heavy.
That's
No
fucking-
offense, Slipknot, but it'll be a lot heavier than they've ever played.
Yeah, for sure.
Yo, no offense to Slipknot, but it's gonna be heavier than they've ever
You're gonna
been.
show 'em how it's
Holy
done.
Shit,
No.
that's gonna leak on Guitar World now. Be careful. I better find out what Corey Taylor thinks.
I was gonna
No,
say,
that's
yeah,
okay.
we'll have an article tomorrow. Like, this is what Corey Taylor thinks about Seagrave.
Corey Taylor thinks that Seagrave are shit. No.
All news is good news. That's okay. We'll be the next Machine Gun Kelly.
Yeah,
Oh fuck.
no press is bad press.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, that's what I was trying to say.
No precious blood press. That's fucking awesome. Well, before we go, I forgot, Chris. I wanted to ask. So, you had actually a pretty cool little gig that you announced. Was it like earlier this month? Walk me through that a bit.
Yeah, so I actually became the house recording engineer for the Dream Room Studio, which is a pretty dope space out in Ajax. It's in an industrial building. We do film, we do photography, recording, mostly for just like vocals, just because we're not really set up to do like full band recording. Like we could do guitars and stuff like that. It's not set up for drums though.
I can help with that.
Yeah, and then so we have tons of package deals. We have a huge package deal right now for if a band or an artist wants to come in, we'll do 3 songs recorded, fully mixed, mastered, music video, photo shoot for like $5,000.
Why aren't we doing that?
And
Seems like, yo, what the fuck?
And,
You get a discount?
and yeah, so I'll record vocals out of there. I'll mix and master everything. So yeah, come hit us up. We do lots of shit. We're set up to do events, photo shoots, video shoots, whatever the fuck you want. Basically, we'll fucking do it.
And they'll do it well.
And that's the Dream Room Studio in Ajax.
Fuck yeah. And if you want nasty fucking riffs and leads, you hit up Stiv and he'll get you set up.
I'll see what I can do.
That's it. Well, boys, we're gonna leave off here with Butchered, which is the brand new single from Seagrave. Thanks, guys, so much for coming out. We'll talk to you again soon. And folks, crank it up. This is Butchered by Seagrave. Talk to you later, boys.
Yeah. Later.
See you, man. Always a pleasure.
Thanks for having us.
All right, there we go. That was Butchered by Seagrave. And that was my conversation with Chris and Stiv from Seagrave. Hope that you guys enjoyed the conversation and that track. Come on. Absolute brutality in under 3 minutes, folks. Just murder. Fantastic track. Big shouts again to Chris and Stiv. Be sure to check out Seagrave on social media and stream Butchered. They got some more stuff coming out, as you guys heard at the end of the episode there. So keep an eye out. Awesome band, awesome guys. They deserve your support. And I thank you so very much for your support with this episode. It means the world to me that you took the time to listen. And if you are still listening, it seriously means the world to me. Thank you so very much. Before we go, I want to give one more shout out again to Zencastr for literally saving this podcast, and they will be who I am using to record all of my remote podcasts from here on out. So big shout out to Zencastr again. And of course, I need to give a humongous shout out to all of my patrons, my hotheads, for going the extra mile to help support this podcast. Just like my buddy, Mr. Scotty D. Scott, thank you so very much for all of the support. You know how much I love you. Big shouts to the Grey Rooms crew. Can't say enough wonderful things about the Grey Rooms crew. I mean, the Grey Rooms is my favorite podcast before they were patrons, just for the record. But I mean, as far as an audio drama horror anthology podcast, I don't think there's anything better out there than the Grey Rooms, and the community that they are building is seriously amazing. It's one of my favorite communities and one of my favorite Patreon accounts that I am actually signed up for, because that's how much I believe in them. And they believed in me enough to not only financially support this podcast every single month with a very generous amount of money, but then also they did have me featured on their actual podcast feed with a couple episodes I did with the creator, Jason Wilson and Brooks Bigley. So I can't say enough wonderful things about them. Huge shout outs to the Grey Rooms team. And also big shout outs to the new guy on the block, my buddy, Mr. Ronan Kamori. Thanks so very much for your support. And by the way, folks, if you've been listening to the last couple of episodes, I've been giving him shout outs and mentioning how I wanted to invite him on to do the albums that made me segment, which he is going to do. So I'm very excited about that. We're going to get that set up. Ronan is he's a great guy, fantastic taste in music, and a very talented aspiring voice actor as well. So we're going to have to talk about all that. But Ronan, thank you so very much for all the support. All of those patrons are not only getting shoutouts like this, which you can get for any of the tiers that I have available, which is $1, $5, $10, but they're all above $5. So that means they're getting access to a brand new show that I'm doing on the Patreon. I'm actually going to fully let you guys know now what it is, because I've been putting a lot of work into it so far, and I'm really, really excited about it. And that is, I'm doing a horror story narration podcast over on the Patreon. And basically what I'm doing is I'm taking stories that are either creepypastas or urban legends or stories I've written or stories that someone else has written. And I'm either doing a narration of it, depending on the story, or I'm doing kind of like a little mini audio drama of it. And man, I've only done one episode so far as I'm recording this, but I'm literally recording the second episode, and I have scripts written up. Not scripts that I've written, but like, you know, I've turned the stories into scripts for like 5 or 6 so far. I have people lined up to come on with me and do it. I'm so excited for this project. It has already been so much fun. I can't wait to drop episode 2. It's going to be great. And I've had some really good feedback for it so far, some really kind words. So, man, now is the time. Check out the Hotter Show Patreon. $5 and above will get you access to the Tapes of Trepidation, which is the horror narration podcast. And I also can't wait for the $1 and above patrons, because they are going to get access to an exclusive kind of clip show type podcast, which I'm not going to say anything else about. We're still working out some kinks on that. But let's just say someone who used to be involved with the show heavily is going to be involved. And I cannot wait for that. And also, once we hit the new goal, which is $60 a month. It was $30, now it's $60 because we hit the $30 a month. I am going to get some merch going, some regular merch once we hit that $60 a month goal. So now's the time to help support the Hotter Show. We're in a growth stage right now. This year, a lot of really cool stuff has happened. And restarting the Patreon and kind of relaunching it has been one of the most rewarding things I've done in a while with this podcast. And it really helps this show. And the more patrons I have, the more work that I can put back into this podcast and keep helping this podcast grow, and as well as the content on the Patreon. So even $1 a month, man, less than a cup of coffee, you can help this show grow. You can also help this show grow just by listening and leaving a rating. Ratings are the best way to help this show grow because it gets more eyes on this podcast. If you leave us a 5-star rating, it helps us climb the iTunes or Spotify charts so people can find this podcast. And if you do that, I seriously appreciate it. Thank you so very much. And just thank you for listening, especially if you are still listening. You are literally the MVP, the realist. Let me hit you with the old patented audio fist bump. Boom. Hear that echo there? That's how you know it was a good audio fist bump. And with that, I'm going to sign off here tonight. Thank you guys so very much for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time on The Hotter Show. Take it easy, guys.